Aloha, and this is another quick update. You can see here the panel with the exception of the altimeter. I still have to fix the Colesman knob. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a redesign on that. There's a shaft coupler that really doesn't grab well because it's so round and the screw going in just doesn't put enough pressure to keep everything moving consistently together. I've got a better idea for it, so I'm going to throw something together. But if you can kind of see here, turn coordinator's working, vertical speed's working. Let's go down to here, and let's ease back on my throttle. You can see my RPM's easing off. And you can see my airspeed starting to bleed off a little. So the major gauges, the attack was one I threw together, and this was based on vertical speed. So if you build this gauge here and you give it a range of 0 to 3,500, instead of like, a 360 degree, you just go 3,500, and then set up a compare table and just put the values in, sim versus what you're reading here. You magically have created your tack slant RPM gauge. Vertical speed works great. Turn coordinator was a little quirky. Now this is the Captain Bob turn coordinator, but his numbers didn't work for me for some reason. I have watched that video, I can't tell you how many times, and I couldn't get his numbers to work, so I played with the numbers, and I got the numbers to kind of work for me that I modified. Now, his airspeed worked perfectly for me. I went and looked at the MCC file, which is the MobiFlight file, directly copied it over, and airspeed just miraculously worked well. So, pretty happy with that. Next thing coming for me is the redesign of the engine gauges, which are here. I just want to shift away from the round gauges to square gauges. I know it sounds kind of picky, but I'm just going to do it. In my last video, you saw the prototype of those square fuel gauges. I've got an updated version of that printing out right now, but it takes about 4 hours to print that thing out, plus the cover where the little bit of plexiglass is going to go. So probably sometime this weekend I should have oil pressure, oil temp, fuel left and right done, and that's pretty much all that goes over there on the older aircraft. And then from there it's just prettying up the panel, and you can see I've already kind of covered up the gouges and the tearing, and I've got an idea to pretty up the rest of the panel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to print out a new round, I'll call it a transition piece for lack of a better term. It's going to be a round black piece that comes out off of here, comes out a little to make it seem as if things are coming out perfectly well. And then I'm going to use the wood putty to seal the gap around it. So you won't see the areas that were hand cut as much. You'll just see something that's smoothed in, and then I'll mask it and paint it. It should look a little better when I'm done. I'm still pretty happy with the panel, all in all. It does everything I want it to do. Turn coordinator, vertical speed, RPM, altimeter's working. It's back here, just hanging out, waiting for me to fix the knob. But once I get all that done, it'll be up and running. Probably a week and a half-ish, with all the little tweaking and the painting and the little things I want to do. Plus the other thing that's going to be happening downstairs with the cockpit is I'm going to be lifting up my alpha ever so slightly. So my alpha, instead of starting at the bottom of this panel, it'll start at about this area here. So it'll lift up my yoke about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, which feels a little better and it's a little more accurate. So I'm going to basically have a round little area here cut out that fits that top transition piece on the alphas, and I think that'll be pretty good for me. I'm also working on the glare shield, and when I say working on, I've actually designed what I want. I just haven't printed it out. One of the problems I've had is a lot of the LED light strips that you can buy, even though they call themselves dimmable, if you try a dimmer knob, they just get really choppy, they flash, and you don't really get much dimming out of them. So I'm gonna build basically just a 3D printed piece of plastic that's gonna go about like yay. I'm gonna embed LEDs and wire each one in. I'm gonna wire them in parallel, and then I'm gonna wire them down to a dimmer knob, so I actually have dimming control. And the LEDs are gonna get dropped in on the tops of these gauges as well. So I'll have the glare shield dimmer, and I'll also have the gauge dimmer in the cockpit. So I'll have analog gauges, the ability to adjust the lighting on those gauges, and I'll have the ability to adjust lighting on my glare shield. So it kind of gives me everything I want and makes things as realistic as I can. But that's just a quick update on where I'm at right now. I wanted to show you how everything is kind of working well together. So if you've been following along, thanks for watching. I'll keep you posted on all the little stuff going on. It's been pretty fun so far. There's been some frustrating points, I won't lie, but you know, once you start seeing everything come together, it really is kind of worth it. And then I think the last piece might be the whiskey compass. I've got it built. I just wasn't happy with it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll figure it out and throw it on there. But thanks for watching, you know, and as always, stay safe and happy flying out there.